Hello everyone, welcome back to another Total War Warhammer multiplayer battle. This is going to be the Forces of Chaos versus the Vampire Coast. For my army, since we're facing off against the coast, I went extremely wide. We have a total of 6 Chaos Marauders with great weapons that are mixed along this entire gigantic line. And then we have 4 of the normal Chaos Marauders. All these Marauders are going to do really well against just the basic zombies. And then the idea is that the Marauders with great weapons in enough number can overwhelm Depth Guard or a bunch of crabs and basically any armor target that the Vampire Coast can bring. So that's why we have 6 of them. Then in the middle, to try and help our center hold, we have the Aspiring Champions, which is a decent unit. I like that they have magic damage, but the main reason why I bring them is because they're relatively cheap, very tanky. They don't have that many hit points, though. They don't really hit hard because, like, 44 weapon strength on a unit is normally pretty good, but you gotta remember there's only 12 of them here that are dealing 44 damage each, So they're not like a true monstrous infantry, which each monster usually deals around like at least 100 damage in a lot of cases, but they don't. But the thing is, they do also have Vanguard deployment, which is very limited for the Chaos roster, and they also have that Encourage. So like the Encourage ability is going to pop the Chaos Marauders leadership up here to 73. That's also because the flanks are secure, but you can see that the Encouraging Aura does give a +8. So for the Marauders, which typically have pretty low leadership, at least in the Chaos faction, it's going to help them hold a little bit longer, and honestly, they just look cool. They're just one of the coolest Chaos units in the game. Like, coolest looking, not in terms of usefulness. They're still not bad. I don't think they're bad at all. But anyway, we got one of those to try and keep the middle holding for as long as possible because they are just Chaos Marauders. And then a little bit more money was spent in the anti-large department. We have 2 Chaos Warriors with halberds there and over there. I guess I can kind of pause this. Being led by Mr. Big Bird himself with only the, what was this thing called? Oh, yeah, Final Transmutation spell. This is to try and just zerg down their leadership, basically. And that is the only spell that I brought with him because I needed a lot of money to go super wide with this formation. So that is all the Big Bird currently has, along with the Arcane Conduit, just to try and cast some Final Transmutations. Then up in the air, we have 2 Exalted Heroes on their Manticore mounts, which deal a whole bunch of damage. Not armor-piercing focus, but still they deal a whole bunch of damage. And against the Vampire Coast, they have a lot of low-armored units, so I believe the Exalted Heroes on their Manticores can do a lot of good work here. And they also have Fear and Terror, which is not a huge deal against the Vampire Coast specifically, but hey, they do have it on their Manticores here. So we got 2 of them, 1 on each flank there. It's been a long time since I brought the Exalted Heroes on Manticores, but it's nice to see them in the air again. And then also we have 2 groups of the Chaos Warhounds, because we gotta have the puppies. So we have 1 group here and then 1 group on the other flank over here. For the Vampire Coast, they have 3 of the Sartosan Militia, because this is the Sartosa faction led by Aranessa's in here somewhere. So the Sartosa Militia are just slightly better than the Free Company Militia. They are the same stat-wise in every way, but these guys, they get rowdy, which rowdy is going to increase their leadership by 4 and also give them perfect vigor until their leadership starts to waver. So they are slightly better than the Free Company because of this one trait. I still kind of wish they were a little more unique, just more missile damage, more to their numbers, a bonus versus infantry. I don't know if that would really make sense. But anyway, just something to give them a little more uniqueness. But hey, they got rowdy. And there's 3 of them in this army. The main front line of the army is going to be made up of the pirate deckhand mobs with swords. There are going to be 5 of them, including the renowned unit, the Tide of Skjold there, as you can see. These guys are okay. The stats that they have, along with the fact that they have the frenzy ability and the perfect vigor with rowdy, kind of makes them pretty cool zombies. They're almost up to like a swordsman level in terms of stats. Oh, almost. Their melee defense is still lacking because the swordsman is 32-32. These guys are 29-22, and they're only 29 because of the frenzy ability. But still, like, they're on their way to becoming swordsmen, and that's pretty impressive for a zombie unit, So they're pretty cool, I think. So anyway, they got 5. Is it 6? No, they got 5 of those. 3 Sartosan Militia, and then in their monster line, they have 2 Morngulls, 1 on each flank, 1 over here, 1 over there. And then they brought 2 of the animated Hulks, which, I mean, I don't know what to say about these guys. I think they suck. They're pretty cheap, I guess, at the very least. They're pretty cheap, and they hit kind of hard. But, Yeah, they got 2 of those. Then in the very back, we also have one group of the Death Guard with pole arms. This is the renowned unit, the Bloody Reavers, which have that ability, which can make them very tanky with the damage resistance. I forget how much damage resistance is. 44% to all damage for 22 seconds is no small thing, on top of the fact that they also have the hunger. So these guys are pretty damn tanky and a unit that you need to be wary of. Then their leadership is made up of a vampire fleet captain of the deep with the fog cloud and the crab summon there and there. They also brought the power stone, which I think is something you definitely need to bring on all your vampire fleet captains. And then they have taunt, which is a nice debuff for enemy units that will lower their armor, melee defense, and speed. And what's pretty cool is that if you pair that up with Aranessa's Salt Spite, who has another debuff, but the thing is, her debuff is Hornswoggle. It's basically the same thing, but it lasts longer. But since they are technically 2 different abilities that do basically the same thing, they will stack on each other. Multiple abilities of the same type will not, but these are different, and they also debuff in the same way. So, like, you can lower anybody from 120 armor to 60 and lower their melee defense to probably near 0 or damn near 0, and then their speed by about 50% if you put Hornswoggle and the I already forgot the name, taunt, right? Yeah, taunt. If you stack those 2 up, at least for 17 seconds, which is a pretty huge debuff. So, like, running Aranessa into like a goon squad of her and like vampires or something, I think it could be very effective, because on top of that, Aranessa is just a really good combatant, especially when you put her onto a crab here. Because without the crab, I can't remember what her armor is, but it's pretty low. But on the crab, her armor shoots up to 120. She still has pretty decent melee stats, actually pretty good melee stats for being on a mount as well. And she still hits pretty hard. But what's really cool about Aranessa, not just the fact that she has the Hornswoggle ability here, she has so many cool abilities. She has the Manon's Luck, which is a buff that can keep her tanky a little bit longer. So for 15 seconds, damage resistance to everything and melee defense goes up again for 15 seconds. But I've spoken about this before, there's a lot of attacks that could come at her in 15 seconds. So it's kind of a big deal. Then, this is one of the coolest parts about her, is that the Kraken's Bane is a constant buff that she can get with one of her unique items that grants a total of a plus 13 melee bonus to all units around her, including herself, against large creatures. Against infantry, it's going to be a plus 5, but against large creatures, it would be a total of plus 13 because she gets plus 5 melee attack and then a plus 8 bonus versus large. And then that's also going to be for damage. So automatically, everything around her, whenever she's around them, is basically an anti-large unit. Like, now a plus 8 may not sound like that much, but like, let's think about, I think it's the Orc Biggins. I think they have a plus 8 bonus versus large, and they do pretty well against large creatures. So like, it's a big deal, and it's on at all times. So that shoots up her own bonus versus large up to 43. So against any kind of large creatures, like, she's almost swinging at 100 melee attack, which is insane, right? And she still has high melee defense. Her damage is not the highest in the game by far, but still, she's going to be hitting often, and she can also buff up her damage and everyone around her for 20 seconds with the All Hands Ahoy. So it's going to increase her base damage and armor piercing damage by 20% each. So that will increase that. And then on top of that, she also has a Spearfisher net. So anyone who's on the ground, because this does not affect flying, will be netted for 18 seconds, which netting an enemy lord, an enemy unit, like a key unit, lord, or hero, is such a huge deal, especially when you have Aranessa, and if you team her up with like a goon squad of vampire fleet captains, and then like, you know, this Death Guard with pole arms, who would also get a plus 8 buff bonus versus large if they're around her, because again, it applies to everybody. And then so you just net an enemy lord or hero, and then you just zerg them with Aranessa, you zerg them with anybody nearby, and if it's a large hero, large lord, then they're just going to take so much damage within a short amount of time with Aranessa. She's a really cool unit. I know everybody is like, you know, Count Noctilus and his what are those things? Necrofex, Necro, whatever. The cannon shooting Titan. But honestly, I think Aranessa's Salt Spite is a really cool unit, especially paired up with. But she, like, for her coolness factor, she needs to be paired up with other cool units too. I guess maybe that's why people don't like her as much, because she's not as super effective on her own like Count Noctilus can be, because he can summon, you know, for days. He has a cool mount that shoots cannons. But honestly, I think Aranessa is super cool. Really, all the leadership for the Vampire Coast is pretty cool. I have to admit, they're all pretty cool. Anyway, so that was a long time on Aranessa, but I think she's just very sweet. So that is going to be their... Oh, sorry, they also have one bloated corpse over here in the forest, which will be super effective. It's going to be super duper effective. And that is their army. Let's play. So, whoa, that was weird. Camera jump. The Sartosa Militia, in theory, can do really well against my Chaos Marauders, especially with the great weapons, because they have no shield block. But we're pretty fast as Chaos Marauders, so they're not going to get that many shots off before we force them into the back lines. And the problem with guns is that they don't have an arc to their fire, right? They have to have a line of sight. So if they are forced behind their own front lines, they're not going to be as effective in shooting people in melee. So it's not a huge threat. Also, we still have the two puppies, which are going to be going around the flanks over here. Where are my puppies over here? Oh, here they are. They're already way around the flanks. This Bloated Corpse is going to start running towards us. I'm going to actually charge them with the Chaos Marauder. This is my most basic unit, and I'm going to have to throw away some unit. I don't really have any range damage to take this thing down, so I'm just going to try and sacrifice these Marauders. So this 550 cost unit is going to destroy about half, maybe a little more than half of a Chaos Marauder unit, so that's a victory in my books. And we're just going to have this Exalted Hero come over here, and he's going to be duking it out with the Morghuls, and we're going to try and cave in this flank as soon as possible with the help of the Exalted Hero. The puppies, I believe, are going to be jumping on the Sartosa Militia over there, and then these puppies over here are also going to be jumping on the Sartosa Militia, who are going to fall back behind their main line. The Death Guard are going to go up the middle, and I'm going to be charging in Big Bird up the middle as well, and then, well, you'll see. Probably, there we go. I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up what's happening all over the battlefield. So there, you see the Bloated Corpse going? It did a lot of damage, but the problem is the Bloated Corpse costs more than the Chaos Marauder, so it's like, it's a win for us, really. So now we're going to charge in the Exalted Hero, and you're going to see the Exalted Hero does so well against Morghuls. Just look at this damage. Look at that damage over there. Anyway, so we got puppies going into the Sartosa Militia over there, our other puppy going into the Sartosa Militia over here, so they're doing good work shooting into those gunners, keeping them busy. Meanwhile, Sartorial here, the Big Bird's going to get netted, I believe, or already did get netted. There we go. So there's the net. Our melee defense goes down by 27, so it's already at 13. And then you can see that Aranessa is getting all of her buffs up. So her damage is up to 480 with that all hands ahoy. And just by herself, really, because like the Death Guard of the Polearms is only maybe 2 or 3 attacking Sartorial at this time. But just her alone is just chunking Sartorial so hard because he's netted, so his melee defense is utter crap right now, and she's just doing so much damage. So it's like, it's very scary, and I can't move right here, and I'm freaking out during the battle, like, oh my god! But meanwhile, the Morghuls over here just totally crushed by that Exalted Hero. I was very happy with how this matchup went for our Exalted Hero. And remember that Bloated Corpse that killed those Marauders? Well, hey, the Marauders are back from rounding, so Bloated Corpses are amazingly bad. So right now, the name of the game is get the hell away from Aranessa and this Vampire Fleet Captain, who did manage to summon one of her crabs behind our front line. So you can see that our center, well, actually, this is kind of more of our right center because our center is right here doing pretty well against the Animated Hawks. You can see like the Animated Hawks are not really doing that well in this fight because we have Chaos Warriors with halberds, which are anti-large. Now, these guys are armor piercers, but their melee attack is just utter crap, man. And they don't even have a bonus versus anything, large or infantry. So they're just rocking a 30 melee attack and a 20 melee defense. Even against like these Chaos Warriors, they're not going to hit that often, and they only have a 38 melee defense, which is not the highest in the game. But with their 30 melee attack, it's more than enough to get through the melee defense of 20. You know, so like we're really doing well here. We have the Aspiring Champions who have a 62 melee defense, so like the Animated Hawks are barely going to be hitting these guys too. So it's just, these Animated Hawks are just going to get overwhelmed. Meanwhile, we're chasing some Sartosa Militia. They are running into the only part of the battlefield where they have any units. We do have these zombies that are killing one of our Chaos Warhounds, letting time for the militia to go. Here comes a second crab summon from the Vampire Fleet Captain of the Deep, and this part of the battlefield went really bad for us because we had the crabs, we had the zombies, and we had the bloody reavers as well. Also, what's happening right now is that I was trying to chase Aranessa and the Vampire Fleet Captain with this one group of Halberd Infantry because the other Halberd Infantry is over here dealing with the Animated Hawks. Also, the Morghuls are basically dead at this point, although I guess they did do some decent damage to the Exalted Hero, now that I mention it. Like, the Exalted Hero was really good in the beginning, but he did kind of get hit there at the end. But anyway, so my Halberd line is stretched because it was chasing their leadership, and they're fighting against these Death Guard over here, but only a few in numbers, so the Halberds are kind of getting crushed right there. And again, I'm just trying to keep Big Bird away from Aranessa and the Vampire Fleet Captain, so we're trying to pin them down with an Exalted Hero, which is not the best idea, but I wanted to throw him in here instead of them going after Sartorial. So that's why we're throwing in our Exalted Heroes. We're going to do a lot of good damage on the charge, but staying in melee against her is going to be a bad idea. But still, I just wanted to throw them in there, try and do as much damage as we can to Aranessa because I need her dead. Because I cannot allow her to net Big Bird and surround him again, or else he will die, and that's going to be very bad for us. Meanwhile, puppies are routing and coming back from routing, still trying to guide into the Sartosa Militia. This puppy came back, and I think I'm going to go for the one over here, or come back over here, I can't remember. So over here on the left flank, we have wrapped up all the units over here. So we're going to be throwing our halberds, we're going to be throwing our marauders around, and just collapsing on one of the only units left here, which is the Bloody Reavers. And again, they're very tanky, but we are going to be able to surround them. We're going to be having a lot of anti-armor with the Chaos Marauders. They don't hit super hard, but there's a lot of them here, so that's pretty good. And you can see here that Aranessa and the Vampire Fleet Captain did try and kill Big Bird again. But again, we had the Exalted Hero nearby. We also have our unit of halberds nearby. They finally were able to mostly disengage from the enemy Death Guard, so we managed to pin down Aranessa. We killed the Vampire Fleet Captain, and now we are chasing off their Sartosan Free Company with the puppies. And things are looking pretty good. One of our Marauders keeping their second round of Prometheans from doing anything, and Big Bird is safe. I'm just like, you know what? I don't need him in the fight anymore. We don't want him to die. He's taking a lot of damage. Going to do a nice recharge here. She did manage to kill one of our Exalted Heroes. This one came back from routing that she had routed earlier before, and we managed to rout the leadership, and then that is going to be the end of the Vampire Coast. So we just had so many numbers. And in this matchup, these animated Hawks had just really nothing to fight. Like, they're just so bad. They're so bad. The second Morgul, I may have actually had my other Exalted Hero fighting them on our right flank, the enemy's left. I actually don't know. I guess we'll look at that during the battle replay. But you can see neither Morguls were able to do too much. Our Exalted Heroes, again, I believe I sent one to each, maybe. We're able to clean them up so that they are bonus versus infantry units, so they're really good at killing like our Chaos Warriors, but they did not get a chance to do that. The Zombie Pirates, though, wreaking havoc on our Marauder line, which is really good for them. They did a lot of damage to our Marauders, but, you know, Marauders are pretty cheap, and we had a ton of them, so it was okay. You can see that the Aspiring Champions did not take too much damage during the exchange with the Animated Hawks, because, again, they have a 30 melee attack. These guys are rocking a 62 melee defense, so they were just keeping the morale of our nearby units alive in that part of the battlefield, which is kind of what you got to use the Aspiring Champions for. And they are also an anti-ethereal unit, so they can do pretty well against Sirens, especially if the enemy did bring them. So against the Vampire Coast, I think you should at least try and bring one Aspiring Champion, just to have that as a threat to any Sirens that they bring. Because honestly, I think Sirens are pretty good. So I think you may have a good chance of fighting at least one of them in a lot of fights, especially in this matchup, because I think they can do pretty well against Chaos Warriors. Anyway, so good game to Jago Roth. I was very happy, especially with our Chaos Warhounds. I like the Aranessa pick, and I believe I may have a battle coming later with Aranessa. I'm just trying to remember if I saved that replay or not. But I did fight a battle with Aranessa and like a goon squad with her. I gotta look for that replay because I play a lot of games. Hopefully I did say that. Anyway, let's just take a quick look here at just like how bad, how expensive. Okay, so there's 750 for a unit that has only 20 armor. Their leadership is terrible. Their speed is okay. Melee attack of 30 and 12. Like, they didn't give them a bonus versus anything. This is a lot of damage. Like, they hit hard if they hit. But, like, they're going to be crumbling pretty quickly because their leadership is utter crap. 7,000 hit points is decent, but when you're only rocking 20 armor, literally everything does almost full damage against you. So, like, that's not that much, really. Their charge bonus is terrible. Their melee, it's like, it's just... It says they're anti-infantry. I mean, I guess, but, like, they don't even cause terror. They just cause fear. You don't even need them to cause fear. Like, literally all your deckhand zombies cause fear. So, like, that's not even unique for them. They're just bad. And this, at least the Bloated Corpse is funny. These guys are just bad. I'm just trying to think here, like, what situation would you even bring them in? Like, dwarves? But against dwarves, even their basic dwarf warriors are going to be able to tank these units. Let me see. Because they only have a 30 melee attack with no bonus versus infantry. So let's see. Basic Dwarf Warrior is rocking a 40 melee defense and a 22 attack. Like, here, you know what? Oh, well, I don't have the mod on right now, but I do have a mod which enables me to put any unit as a hero, so I could just quickly do a test between these two. But, like, just stat-wise, these Dwarf Warriors will probably win. These guys aren't going to get that many attacks off on them, even on the charge with only a 12 charge bonus. They will hit hard, I guess, when they do hit. but 30 and 20 versus a 22 and 40. Like, even like a basic dwarf warrior, it's like you can't even probably bring these against, because they're not going to be cost effective against dwarves. Because they have 20 armor. They can't block any of that dwarf damage. They don't even deal that much damage, but they still... Why are they in this game? Why did you design them this way? They're just this useless unit. They're okay, anyway, let's watch the cinematic view. I'm just going to get angry. So these Free Company, or sorry, Sartosa Militia, not to be confused with Free Company, which is a totally different unit, not even looking the exact same as this unit. They get, what, 1 volley off on these guys? Maybe 2? That's still the first volley. No, they get 1 volley off. These guys get like maybe 1.5. So yeah, there we go. So I did stick both Exalted Heroes on the Morgals and wipe them out that way. These guys suck! They look cool. Maybe if their cannon arms actually fired cannons in melee, that would be neat. Maybe that would make them good. Yeah, like, at least the Bloated Corpse is funny. I think it's equally as useless, but at least it's funny. I'm lucky that they did not get their depth guards surrounding Sartorial here, or else he probably would have died. Really lucky there. Are the Morgals dead already? Good God. I thought that they may do good against the Morgals, but man, they really wiped them out. This one probably had support from Marauders, though, whereas that one's duking them out by himself. Yeah, probably don't want to throw them into Aranessa. Like, this is a mistake right here. She routes them off pretty quickly. There's the skull. Looks pretty cool. You can do this, Assault Zero. No! You shall have vengeance. Alright, I'm gonna have to load up that mod and test those 2 units out. I gotta see it. I have to see it. Alright, so now we have set up a battle versus a basic Dwarf Warrior and the animated Hulk. And then I also have this unit pack here, or unit map pack, which just lets us pick like a very small map here. So we're gonna see. Because I'm sure we're all curious. I'm curious. And I thought, why not? How many times are we going to see animated hawks in a fight? So, the time is now to test this out. They're even in a dense formation, which is probably not going to happen online. But like, so in most cases, you're going to fight against dwarf players who are not going to charge you because they're dwarves, and like they even have charge defense versus large. So like the charge anyway, let's see.
Come then, let me
maybe I'll be wrong. You know what? I will admit, I thought the Dwarf Warriors would do more damage than this. Okay. Now what this doesn't take into account, so let's see. Oh, gosh darn it. It looked like they got him, what, to half? So the Dwarf Warrior, which is 450, got these guys down to about half. And they're 750. The thing, though, that little battle doesn't represent is that the dwarves are also going to have ranged units that could tear you to pieces. Like, I think Rangers is going to be a common pick against Vampire Coast because they're pretty cheap and they can counter the guns of the Vampire Coast, and they could counter animated hawks. But if they don't have an anti-large lord nearby, if that dwarf unit is not buffed up by some kind of runesmith spell, if they don't have Iron Drake torpedoes shooting at the animated hawks, if they don't have cannons shooting at the animated hawks, if they don't have rangers shooting at the animated hawks, if it is a 1v1, it looks like the animated hawks can actually do pretty good in that matchup. Oh, also the biggest if of all, if they don't have slayers fighting your animated hawks, because they're too busy doing something else. Okay, well there we go. If all of those conditions equal true, animated hawks worth it against dwarf warriors. I mean, I guess since we're here, like, why not? Let's up the ante. Let's say longbeards, who are still cheaper than animated hawks. You know, why not? You know, again, like, when are we going to see animated hawks? I mean, why don't we just get all this out of the way right now? But God, if they send one group of slayers after your hawk unit. GG. And again, like, these guys are fighting in a dense formation, which is not ideal, but it's fine. So these guys rocking a 48 melee defense. Huh. I didn't think the hawks would hit even this. This is one of those situations where, like, the stat card makes me think one thing, but the actual battle, well. Okay, yeah, this is no longer cost efficient. So one group of Longbeards, which is 100 gold cheaper than the animated hawks, a unit that, according to their stat card, says they're anti-infantry armor piercers, and the Longbeards beat them. This dwarf unit is one of the ideal targets for an animated hawk, and it can't beat it. So if a unit that is designed to counter a specific unit cannot actually kill the unit that it is designed to counter, that is a bad unit. At least, like, if it did that amount of damage, let's say to a like a hammerer, you know, as long as it's what we call trading up, so that means, you know, they're doing a lot of good damage. They may lose, but as long as they can deal like a crippling blow to a unit that costs more than they do, then it's trading up and it is efficient for you in that fight to cripple them, lose your unit, but leave them in a stance where they can't really do much else because they cost, you know, like 1100, these cost 750. In that situation, this unit would still be good, but it can't even counter a unit that it's designed to counter that is 100 gold cheaper than that is. So that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. That it can't counter a unit that is designed to counter that is also cheaper than it is. I don't know. This is just a one-on-one, though. There's so many other units. Maybe the animated Hawks have a niche somewhere else. But just like judging by the fact that they are somewhat cheap and they have armor-piercing damage, it says they're anti-infantry, which, sure, if you want to say they are, sure. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for the video, everybody. That's my extensive test of the Hawks. I don't think they're great. I don't think they're great. But hey, real quick though, if you're wondering what cost efficient could be, like, let's do this. This would probably never actually happen, but you know, it's just curious to see. We're here. Why not? Let's throw them up against an Iron Breaker, because you're never going to see this in multiplayer. This is like your ideal situation. If somehow your Bloated Corpse manages to make it past all of the approach to the Dwarven line, they have not targeted your Bloated Corpse with their artillery of varying degrees. They have not targeted your corpse with their rangers or their gunners, because they are fools. Then your corpse can get the best hug it ever is going to get. For 500 gold going to the breaker. Oh, we can't even see how many. I couldn't even see how much. Okay, there we go. So also it shows hit points kind of regained on this screen, so it did more damage than that. So that's your ideal trade right there, killing 45 Iron Breakers with the Bloated Corpse. But that's just never going to happen. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. I just wanted to have a nice little hug explosion there at the end, because you're never going to see it in online battles at all. You're never going to see that. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye.